And I see, to make sure our community co-host is on. And Kim, I do have you doing Zoom controls today.
Okay.
Cool.
And I'm setting us up on Facebook. What number? 29. Okay.
You see how I do?
I see that we are recording. We're still not yet on Facebook, right? Okay.
We're getting there.
Perfect. No worries.
Okay, we should be there.
I see us streaming. Excellent.
Cool.
No, it's okay.
And welcome to those of you that are just joining us. Our AB 617 South Central Fresno Community Steering Committee meeting will begin in just a few moments. We're just allowing the rest of our CSC members and others to join. Thank you so much for joining us today. On your screens are two different slides. One that shows instructions for how to make sure that your screen name shows appropriately. And the other one is for our Spanish-speaking participants to log into the language line or to make sure that they have access to interpretation. We're going to get started in just a couple of moments. I do see that a number of people are joining by phone. Thank you so much for doing that. On your screen are ways that you can join your phone to a video if you need to. You can press pound and your participant ID to link your phone and your video. And if you are just on the phone, my colleague Kim will reach out to you to make sure that we name you and make sure that your screen name reflects who you are as well. So thank you again for joining us. We're going to begin the AB 617 South Central Fresno Steering Committee meeting in just a few moments.
I guess.
Okay, I think we might be ready. I'm going to just do the quick check to make sure that we've got Ryan and our community co-host on the line, and we will go ahead and get started.
Ryan was on a call. We can get started. He will be here in just a second.
I'm here.
Oh, he's here. He's here.
He made it, he made it.
No, I've been
And what
here.
about Estella? Just
Yes, we have
checking
our
on
co-host
Estella.
here. She's here.
Ah, perfect. Wonderful. Hi, Estella. Excellent. All right, let's get going. Well, Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to the first steering committee meeting of 2021. We are so excited to see you all. My name is Erica Manuel. I am the CEO of the Institute for Local Government, or ILG, and I am joined today by my colleagues Hannah Stelmakovich and Kim Danko, who are working on the logistics for this Zoom meeting. And we've done this for a few months now, believe it or not, going on 6 or 9 months in shelter in place. So we're getting very used to this, but certainly we have new members every month, and we want to make sure you are also up to speed on how we handle our virtual Zoom meetings. Before we go too far, I want to make sure that our Spanish-speaking attendees have everything they need to hear, understand, and participate in this meeting. So I'm going to check in with Emma or Mari at the Air District to make sure that those instructions in Spanish are presented.
Hola, buenas tardes. Gracias y bienvenidos a la reunión de AB 617 para la comunidad Centro Sur Fresno. Nomás, yo creo que ahorita ya ustedes saben y sabería Estela cómo entrar a la interpretación, pero en caso de que alguien más esté aquí con nosotros hoy, para seleccionar el idioma de español, tiene que buscar el logotipo que parece un mundo que dice Interpretation. Va a seleccionar eso y luego va a oprimir el lenguaje español. Después de seleccionar el español, también va a querer oprimir el botón que dice Mute Original Audio, que significa silenciar audio original. Y luego, si tiene algún problema estar aquí en la reunión por Zoom, puede también llamar por teléfono. El número de teléfono es el 888-240-3210 y el código de acceso va a ser 23 78 69 1 y el signo de número. ¿Y tiene alguna pregunta alguien en este momento? Ok, no escucho nada, entonces podemos seguir. We can proceed.
Thank you so much. As I mentioned, this is the first meeting of the new year, so Happy New Year to everyone. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday season, are able to rest a little bit, maybe eat some food, good food, watch some Netflix maybe, and hopefully spend some quality time with your loved ones, either virtually or in person. I know it was an interesting holiday season for all of us, and somehow it is already January 13th. And I can tell you what a year it has been. So many historic moments have taken place in our history in the last 7 days, and certainly even today. So I do want to acknowledge that and acknowledge the weight that some of you may be feeling around some of those current events, and really thank you for your participation today. So much of the civil discourse that's happening nationally is related to the work that we're doing here. You know, it's civic participation, it's public engagement, and that's really what this steering committee is about. And I want to acknowledge that and acknowledge that you are doing that good work, that hard work, and it's so important and so necessary, and we're happy that we are all working together. So now I'd like to go over quickly the agenda for today, and you'll see that slide on the screen for you. It is really about a fitting topic for our first topic for the year is 2021 planning. And at this time of the year, it's always great to take a pause and see where we want to go with this committee in 2021 and how we're going to get there. So we're going to spend a little bit of time at the beginning of the meeting talking about how we want to approach that effort and what options are available for the CSC. Then we're going to talk about lawn and garden incentive measures, and the Air District staff is going to get the CSC up to speed on some upcoming opportunities for outreach and community participation around that program. Then we're going to talk briefly about residential wood burning and get an update on the grant implementation and how enforcement is going. And then we're going to talk about the surf tracker. Again, it's a little bit of deja vu all over again, but it's an important element of how you stay up to speed on the work that's being done. We want to show you the latest updates to that document before we move into our standing updates, which are at the end of the agenda this time. And then we're going to wrap up. So now I want to hand it over to my colleague Kim for a quick refresher on the Zoom controls for those of you that are new to this meeting or process, and then we'll jump back into the agenda. Kim.
Thanks, Erica. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. You guys are probably familiar with Zoom by now, but we just want to give a little refresher. We'll be labeling you with your first name, last name, and organization. If you're on the CSC, we will put that ahead of your name just so we can keep track of stipends and everybody who's eligible. But if you're from the Air District or CARB or anywhere else, please put your organization. Please stay on mute throughout the meeting. You can raise your blue hand if you have a question. Please also use the chat box and use the little @ sign when you are responding to a question directly. The chat transcripts are not private, so just a reminder to be respectful to one another and that they will be public, so we can see that. And then if you're using a separate device, as Erica mentioned earlier, for your phone and your audio, you can go ahead and link the two with your participant ID. And if you don't know how to, I am here behind the scenes, so you can always ask me. Reach out to me or Hannah or Erica throughout the meeting for any kind of help that you need. And this meeting is being recorded and streamed live on Facebook. So just some reminders.
Excellent. Thank you so much. As Kim mentioned, we are recording this meeting on Facebook, but we will be accepting public comments, and those public comments will take place at the very end of the meeting. But we will keep an eye out on if there are public comments or requests via chat or via Blue Hand, and we will try and fit those in as we can. But please note that we do want to make sure that we focus the conversation on the residents and the CSC members on the call. If you're just joining us, there is a translation option for our Spanish-speaking community, and we're going to show that slide again just to make sure that everyone that jumps on the line has the ability to do so. And then now we're going to get to the roll call. As you recall, we do not do a full verbal roll call for the CSC, but we do leverage the renaming process to make sure that your screen name reflects who you are and your role on this committee. Please do make sure that that is up to date. And I'm going to ask my colleague Kim to make sure that there isn't anyone that needs to be renamed for the purposes of stipends and tracking.
Yeah, there's just a couple that look like they're not linked up. One is just labeled iPhone. When you may see a chat from me, I tried to reach out to see if we could tell who you were. We can label you. And there's also an area code 310 phone number. So if either of you guys are willing to chat me or speak up right now, I'd love to change your display name.
Great. And for those of you that are literally participating in the stipend program, note that we do request that you stay on the line for 75% of the meeting to receive that stipend for today's meeting.
Erica, and our person on the iPhone has raised hand, so let's figure out who it is.
Laura Moreno.
Great, thank you so
Hi,
much.
Laura.
Hi.
Hello,
And
my
our
name is Doug Karstens. Yeah,
Hi, Doug.
Karstens. Hello. Just a new person just listening in, if you don't mind. It's great to be here.
Thanks for joining us. We've got your name listed.
Okay, thank you.
All right, well, we'll keep moving.
Ladies, I have a real quick question, just a simple logistics question. How many committee members are currently here participating in this meeting of the total?
Yes, we were going to actually do that tracking in just a little bit, Lisa, so we will actually let you know as soon as we get everybody named. We'll make that count happen and we'll report back.
Also, too, are there new members to this committee we don't know about that you want to introduce?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Oh, okay, because it sounded like you had some new people. That's all. Thank you.
Oh, no, Doug's a new member of the public that's joining us, but we do welcome new members at any time, I believe, and I think the Air District usually notifies us when we have a new member joining or a prospective member joining, but not today. All right, well, we'll keep moving. Thank you, Lisa, for that comment, and we will bring that tally back to you in just a few as soon as Kim and Hannah are working on that. And then just one quick facilitation note for everybody before I move this to the co-host and host welcome. I did want to, in the spirit of New Year's resolutions, give a quick facilitation note for today. I know that you are all phenomenal community leaders, advocates, business members, and residents, and you all have a unique perspective to bring to the steering committee. So my New Year's resolution, personally, for this committee and my facilitation of it, is to make sure that some of our quieter voices are being heard. So one change that you're going to notice from me going forward is that I'm going to try and do a better job of asking for input from residents and quieter participants. So I do want to make sure that you know that a balanced discussion is important and that a discussion that reflects the community priorities that you all have identified. And so doing that requires that I kind of pinpoint and make sure that I pull out some of the voices, not only English speaking, but also resident voices. And so don't be surprised if I call on you during that meeting or ask for resident input first. So that is one change you might see that comes out from this meeting. And I do hope that our residents and other participants feel welcome and open and able to share their thoughts. And so now with that said, I want to pass it over to Ryan for his Air District welcome, and then our community co-host, Estella, who I'm so excited to have as our co-host today. Ryan, we'll start with you.
Good evening, everybody. So happy to see you all. Happy New Year. Hope everybody had wonderful holidays. Got some time to spend time with families and loved ones. Looking forward to a new year and a lot of work yet to be done. Working closely with all of you to further implement the measures that make up the South Central SERP. And I'm excited. And I think organizationally, we're all very excited about the progress that's been made, but definitely know that there's a lot more work to be done and needing a lot of input and a lot of coordination and working with the steering committee, all the steering committee members and our partner agencies to see that work gets done. So just excited to once again be working with you in a new year. Hopefully at some point this year in a little more of a normal sense. So, but although maybe now Zoom is normal for everybody. So thanks.
Excellent. And Estella, did you want to say a few words to everyone as our community co-host?
Buenas tardes a todos. Muchas gracias por estar presentes aquí. Pues aquí mi meta en asistir a estas reuniones es para el bien del medio ambiente. Mi meta es pues que se logre disminuir la contaminación, ¿verdad? Esa es mi meta, es mi misión, es lo que a mí me gustaría, el bien de toda nuestra comunidad y más que nada un futuro mejor para mis hijos. Gracias. Si alguien quiere decir algo.
So she goes ahead and says, good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for being present in this meeting today. And my main goal is to be here for the good of our environment. My goal is to lower all the contamination that goes around because my biggest goal is for everybody to be healthy and the well-being of everyone else. And also if anybody else would like to say something to their goals.
Did anybody else want to talk about either a New Year's resolution or a goal for the committee? And thank you, Estella. That was awesome.
Y tenía nomás un comentario también de decir que pues aquí he vivido por más de 20 años aquí en Fresno y yo empecé aquí a estas reuniones porque mi hijo se enfermó del asma. Entonces a mí me interesó mucho sobre por qué se enfermó y pues me empezaron a decir que era por la contaminación del aire. Por eso a mí me motivó seguir en estas reuniones, porque yo quisiera que no hubiera más niños con asma o más personas adultas enfermas con enfermedades respiratorias. Y por eso me motivó seguir en estas reuniones.
She also mentions that she has another comment. She mentions, I've lived here for more than 20 years here in Fresno, and I came here to these meetings because my son has asthma. And so mainly I was very concerned and I wanted to find out why. They let me know that it was mainly because of the contamination. So I'm here now because I want to go ahead and stop that and for people to not have any more respiratory illnesses. So that's what motivates me to be here.
That is a really important perspective. Estella, thank you so much for being our community co-host today, for sharing your inspiration for joining this committee, and hopefully grounding us as we think about where we're going to go in 2021 as a committee and how we're implementing this SERP, which is so important to helping address the challenges that you face with your family and so many other families face with asthma and other respiratory illnesses. All right, I don't see any hands, but feel free to drop in your New Year's resolutions in the chat or your thoughts and motivations around being on this committee, and that will help ground us in this conversation. And we love to hear those.
We do have a hand from
We do have a hand, sorry. Oh no, I missed it. Ed Ward.
I just wanted to say how excited I am, Estella, that you're taking a lead in this. It's so nice to have the residents working at this. When we first started long ago, and none of us want to remember all of those days, there was a lot of learning that we had to do, and I'm so appreciative of your leadership and your willingness to learn. Thank you.
Agree. Thank you. And apologies, Ed. This is what happens when I scroll on my Zoom screen. I don't see everything. I appreciate that comment, and I apologize for overlooking it. And Hannah, thanks for stopping me.
That's why the team is here.
Now, Hannah, tell me, do I have any more hands?
No, we
Okay.
do not, but
No,
if we
that's
can take a quick moment and double check, we have one more participant joining on the cell phone to ensure we capture who it is.
excellent. Thank you.
Ladies, I have one quick question. You know how you raise your hand and there's a little doohickey symbol I hit? I don't have it.
You mean this on the phone, like a *9, or?
No, on my iPad. I can't find it.
Lisa, on your iPad, when you on the bottom of the screen, you need to click on participants. And if you don't see that participants, it's in the participant menu. So when you see the participant list pops up.
It's actually not on there.
Also on the iPads, if you guys have any other tips, but you sometimes have to scroll through different screens. There's like 3 different scrolls to get to all the Zoom controls.
Oh, there it is. I found it. Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. And we do have a participant joining us via the phone with the last 4 digits, 1014. I see that you're unmuted. Could you please let us know who you are? Four digits are 1.
Hi, Hannah. This is John Claxton with the Air District. I'm just heading home, so I'll join in the regular way in a few minutes.
It's okay. Hi, John.
Thank you.
And Hannah, while we're at it, can we get Dana's iPhone identified?
Dana's iPhone able to unmute? And I want to acknowledge, hi, Kevin Hamilton, you've joined, welcome. Love the housekeeping, and thanks all of you for your patience while we get all of that done. It is important, and we'll tell you why in just a second, but I want to make sure we acknowledge and recognize all the CSC members, and that we track everyone who's getting stipends, and that we don't miss anyone. A little bit of time at the beginning helps make sure that everything runs seamlessly for the rest of the month.
Kim, I don't see Dana's iPhone anymore. I think that person dropped out.
Oh, okay. Then we should be good.
All right. Well, we will keep moving. Well, thank you guys all again for your patience while we did a little housekeeping, but also while we think about this next agenda item and the reason why that was so important. So we do, like I said, want to start off this year really thinking about where we want to go and what we want to do. And so next on the agenda is a discussion about the 2021 planning. And as I mentioned during the intro, it's the beginning of the year, fantastic time to take a pause and set some priorities for the month ahead. We heard that was of an interest from the November meeting and the December meeting. And we also want to make sure we align the strategy, which is your SERP. Your SERP is your strategy, but we want to align that with your implementation tactics that are underway. And this is a really important exercise, but there's a couple different ways that we can do it. So today, we wanted to discuss how we're going to go about doing that in a way that works for all the CSC members, given that you're all coming from different backgrounds, you have different availability. We really wanted to think about how to get the most participation and also deliver the outcomes that you would like this year. So we're not going to do the actual priority setting today, but this agenda item is intended to just give us a little bit of the time to discuss the approach. First of all, what does the planning need to include? There are 3 main areas that we've talked about that would need to be discussed at the beginning of this year. And during the agenda setting conversation that happened a couple days ago before this agenda went out for this meeting, there was a conversation around, what are the things that we really want to cover in 2021? The 3 main topics are on the screen. It's what agenda topics do you want to discuss in 2021? What measures within the SERP do we want to prioritize in 2021? Because it's a 5-year plan. So what are we prioritizing this year? And then the third bucket is what other key activities do you want to accomplish? And what other metrics for success could there be as part of the discussion, especially in this year? So one important thing about annual planning is it kind of helps to break down big projects into small pieces. And so this planning effort would be an opportunity for us to kind of remind this committee and to think about as a committee what success looks like in this year. And so these are the three things that would need to be covered in that planning discussion. And the question for the committee today is, how do you want to do that? There are really two options. You can discuss this at the next CSC meeting in February, and you can devote the entire agenda to addressing these three things. And there's a way to do that, certainly in that 2-hour window. Or we can host a separate planning session at an additional special meeting. And that meeting could be 2 to 4 hours or more, depending on the depth with which this committee wants to really dive in. The Air District is certainly comfortable with whatever approach you want to take, but we really wanted to be mindful of the committee members and the goals and the participation and how to maximize that. And so the agenda item today is designed to ask this committee, what's your preferences? Option A or option B? Option A would be do it at the next meeting, which is in February, and it's already scheduled. Or option B, schedule a different meeting, plan it out and stretch it out and spend a little more time on it. And so we wanted to talk a little bit about that option. So that's the background that you need. And in the spirit of my New Year's resolution, I was going to open the comments up and discussion up to our residents first, and then we'll open up to the broader voices. And again, depending on the approach that's decided, certainly it could mean a couple extra meetings and extra time that you spend. And we want to be mindful of the community commitments, the family commitments, the work commitments, and we want to encourage as many people to participate in the planning effort, however it's done, as possible. So we will open it up now to comments, and I will rely on my colleagues to help kind of field that, and we'll try and stay on time with this agenda item. And as I mentioned, we can start with our community member or our resident members of this steering committee. If there are any residents that would like to kind of weigh in on your preferred approach for option A or option B, option A being have this conversation at the next CSC meeting, or option B, have a separate conversation that's more in depth and longer in a different forum than the CSC meeting as a regularly scheduled conversation.
Yo pienso que una junta separada.
Sure.
Isabel lets us know that she believes a separate meeting would be good.
Okay. Any other resident comments? I might call on someone. Larry, if you wouldn't mind, I'd love your thoughts. I get to see I see your face.
El plan B
I'm trying to find my unmute button. I was on the wrong screen. I think the next meeting would be, fine. I think we can cover a lot, in one meeting. I know that we talked about it the last meeting, having, I don't know, multitude of meetings, but I think that's just a lot of talk, So I think you have plenty of staff to get things done at the Air District. It's just getting things done is what's important. I don't think meetings are going to do it.
Thanks for that, Larry. And Estella, I saw that you were talking. Apologies for cutting you off.
Para mí está bien el plan B.
For me, plan B is good.
Great. Did any other residents have any thoughts on the option A or option B? And just as a reminder, option A would be to keep the existing schedule, don't have additional meetings, but have this agenda kind of take over the full agenda for the next meeting. Option B is a longer, more in-depth meeting that's special and devoted to this discussion item in addition to the regular scheduled meetings.
Lisa has her hand up. Thank you for raising your hand, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa. And I'm seeing some things in the chat as well. Keeping moving. All right, Lisa, I think you're up. I don't see any other residents, and I wasn't going to call on one to put them on the spot just yet. Lisa, go ahead and give your thoughts.
Well, I think that if we have it at the next meeting, that we're just going to blow through time and things are going to get delayed. And by the time we have a strategic meeting, it'll be our plan together. It'll be 2022. And based on past practices and past behavior of staff and information that has been availed to us, it is the smart move to actually have a separate meeting and go deep into exactly what we want, how we want it, timeframes and everything, and just really, hit the ground running and get the work done and get it processed out so we can just move forward and get stuff taken care of. Thank you. I'm definitely
Thanks,
a B.
Lisa. Lisa's a B. Thanks for that comment, Lisa. Appreciate it. Anyone else want to weigh in on this? So far, we've mostly got B's in the chat, and we've mostly heard B comments. We've had some other people that are okay with the A idea, but mostly we're hearing Plan B. And the approach for if we did move forward with Plan B would be that there is an opportunity for people to kind of weigh in on how that's structured to make sure that it fits the goals, and that the agenda for that meeting is laid out and timed out and structured appropriately. So there might be that meeting, but then also maybe a planning meeting to talk through how that gets done. So if Plan B is selected, that would likely be the approach for that. And it's certainly, again, the Air District is open to either option. Wanted to make sure that the committee had the chance to decide based on, you know, your commitments and expectations for engagement. Any other thoughts on this? I think we can do a really quick consensus. And to Lisa's question, how many people we have? We had 2 people join, and I do want to ask Kim and Hannah what number of committee members we had on the line today, if you had that final count for me.
Yes, we have 16 present right now.
I'm sorry, would you say that again?
16 are present right now?
16. We have 16 CSC members today, and that means, you know, consensus would be about 50% plus 1. So we need 8 or 9 people to say that they are happy with that plan. So I think what we can do, I'm seeing mostly in the chat, everybody's comfortable with Plan B. Don't have a full, it looks like we're getting there. Thank you, Genevieve. I see your note. And Victor, we're getting a lot of Plan B support. If there's anyone vehemently opposed to Plan B, please raise your hand and unmute yourself now. Otherwise, I'm sensing that there is mostly interest in a Plan B approach, which is fine. Anybody that really wants to speak in favor of a Plan A? Hearing none, I'm going to assume that we're all okay with the Plan B. And Kim and Hannah, keep me honest. Any hands?
Yes, there's no hands, Erica. About 8 people waved in, mostly on Plan B.
Perfect. All right. Well, what we've heard is that Plan B is the direction we want to go mostly, and we appreciate everyone's thoughts there. One thing I do want to do just as a protocol, we didn't vote, we did an informal, but one thing that's in your charter that I want to be respectful of is that we have to accept a public comment before any formal or informal vote. And so I did want to flag that today as well. Is there any comment from the public on this matter and what those preferences might be, just to make sure that we are following the protocol?
Well, yes, I would like more time to talk about the air monitoring data. It has a lot of questions on, like, what are the spikes with the sulfur and everything? What could have caused that? Like a leak somewhere and other things. And it's hard to distinguish the colors, which are color schemes of blues and green, blue-green and everything with the blue light removing glasses. I couldn't see a thing. That's what I was writing right now. I think a lot of organic carbon from wood burning I've seen, which is near Malaga.
Thank you, Laura. So to the point of the 2021 planning, I think we are moving forward as described with Plan B. To Laura's comment, we have a couple of those answers for you today as we move forward on the agenda. And so we will certainly and hopefully get to some of those questions and answers for you. So thanks for that comment. All right. Moving on, we're going to move forward with that approach. And what I would say is that for the follow-up on the strategic planning, look for additional correspondence from the Air District about scheduling a planning meeting for the planning meeting, not only on the dates, but also on the content, right? Because we want to make sure that if we're going to spend time in a meeting, that it's the most useful, productive use of time. And to the point made earlier, meeting just for meeting's sake does not do anyone any good. So let's make sure that this is strategic and that the approach works for you and that maximizes your time and is productive. So that is the goal. And that is certainly something that can be accomplished in short order. So please look for that as we move forward. Moving on, our next agenda item is lawn and garden incentive measures. And Jamie's actually going to give you an overview on the outreach and the community participation options for that. So Jamie, if you are ready, feel free. And I do see that Lisa has a hand up. Is it for this item or for a previous one?
It's for a previous one. I want to know, we still have 33 official members, and for this strategic meeting that you're going to be scheduling, will all 33 be actually contacted, not only by phone, not only by email, but also phone? Because right now we're only at attendance of 48%, and our attendance seems to be dipping, and I would like to see it back up, or at least find out why people aren't showing up. That's all. Thank you.
It's a great comment. I'll turn it over to the Air District for how they'd like to approach that. I know that the team does a great job of outreach, or a pretty significant one. I'll let Jamie answer that and then jump right into your item.
Yes, and we will call folks that have not been participating and check with them and see what's going on. We do make some of those calls, but we'll reach out to a few more other folks. Great idea, by the way, Lisa, I appreciate it. Real quick, Janine, I think is going to give you first a little overview on how this lawn and garden program is different from the regular district one. And then I'm going to come back and talk a little bit about outreach and how we can make sure that the message is getting out specifically to the community. Janine.
Yes, thank you, Jamie. Thank you, everybody, for the opportunity to talk at this group tonight. It's a big group, so excited to present tonight. We are happy to also announce that the CGYM, the Clean Green Yard Machine program for residential is open with the enhanced measures for the AB 617 communities. So I'm going to try to do a screen share here with you guys real quick and bring up a little graphic to help go over this quick process of the program. So we have two options within this program, and the enhanced incentives are focused on option one. So this is our replacement option, where residents can take their old gas power mower, turn it in to a certified dismantler for destruction, purchase a new zero emission lawnmower, and receive a rebate from the district of 100% of the eligible cost up to $500. I'm going to scroll just a little bit here. I'd like to also bring this same graphic up in Spanish for our Spanish attendees tonight. There is also a second option. While there's not an enhanced incentive here, this one is still available to all residents. And this provides a smaller incentive for purchasing handheld equipment such as a string trimmer, an edger, things of that nature, as well as a lawnmower, but with no replacement requirement. So this would be just a brand new purchase, maybe a new homeowner or somebody who's looking to purchase some of those handheld pieces of equipment in electric zero emission option. So it's a very simple process. You make your purchase, you destroy your old mower, you apply for our program through I'm going to quickly grab another screen here to show you the website here that we have. Our application process is a really simple web-based application portal. And you would just go here after your purchase with your receipt and a form from the dismantler. We do have an option right here at the top to switch to a Spanish version on the page. And you would fill out the form, upload your documents, and then we get all your information directly into our office and process your rebate request and send a check out to you. So very simple process that is open and available for residents now. It opened a few days ago, so we are ready to go and process those rebates. We are looking definitely for ways to help get the message out to the community members. And I think Jamie might be speaking about that in a little bit more detail. So if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Hi, everybody. I would love to hear, and feel free to put it in the chat or to raise your hand. We've talked a little bit about just general outreach, and I see Naimeen, so we'll go to her first. General outreach about the grant programs, but really specifically, we want to make sure that we're getting those folks in the community that that of course have lawns and can use it, but then also those folks that maybe are interested in you know, swapping out a mower or have never really thought about an electric mower. Maybe they're a little worried about, is it still going to work? Making sure that we're giving them enough information. So if you hear me typing, I'm taking your suggestions, but we'll go to Naimeen and then I'll let Erica and her team see who else has questions or comments.
Thank you. The question is, what happens if there's a resident that wants to apply and don't have access to the internet or doesn't like using the internet? What's the alternative process for them to apply? So that's the question and a comment. I would highly encourage the Air District to reach out to Lilia because she has a wonderful Facebook group where she normally posts a lot of things, and you want all her 2,000 followers to get to know about something, she's your go-to person. So sorry to put you on the spot, Lilia, but I had to say it.
The social media influencer, huh? Naimeen, that sounds awesome. Yes, that's fantastic. And you said it's Lilia, right? She just actually put in a comment asking if they have to have the receipt of purchase in order to get that rebate.
They do. So how it works is we need some type of documentation that they if they're turning in an old mower, a gas powered mower, we need them to use one of our dismantlers because we have an agreement with them to confirm that that old mower will not be resold, that it will be destroyed and won't be used again. But if someone's just buying a new piece of equipment, they just need a receipt. It's super easy, and they don't get the full 100% on a just new piece of equipment, but they can get cash back. So it's great. And just so you know, and we'll make sure some of the suggestions that we've had are making sure that we have some outreach brochures and bilingual and everything. And one of the things that we are more than happy to do is if someone calls and does not have the access to computer, be they an English speaker or a Spanish speaker, what we can do is walk them through the process. So we will input their data on the computer as they're talking to us. And we're willing to do that and can do that.
That's awesome. Thanks, Jamie. I do see Lisa's hand. Oh, Naimeen, you got a follow-up question?
Just a reaction to that, Jamie. I think that is important, but I think that you have to put that in a flyer. Because if I just give the flyer to a person saying, you know what I mean? It leaves the impression that that's the only way to do it. And that could be a deterrent right there. So I think that if that's an opportunity, you can say, you can apply online or you can call this number and, you know, there will be assistance to you over the phone or something like that. So that is clear even in the flyer.
It's a great comment, Naimeen. Thank you for that. And I see Jamie typing furiously, so I think that's been captured. And Lisa, I do see your hand raised. Would you like to make a comment or have a question?
Yeah, I just had a real quick question. In your presentation, you mentioned dismantlers, but you didn't mention where is the list of approved dismantlers.
Yes, we do have that listed on our website, and I can drop the link. I think actually Brian dropped the link for the webpage into the chat box, and there is an option to select to open a document with the listed dismantlers, so we can help guide you to that as well in the chat box.
Yeah, because you really need to have the dismantlers list available, because I know if I bought something and I got rid of it and then I found out I had to send to certain dismantlers, I would be really annoyed.
Yeah, and we do provide that information on the application as well. So that way it helps to remind the applicant to reference that list, but we'll definitely make sure that that's prominently displayed.
And also in all your brochures and your outreach marketing to the public. Thank you.
Great. So some great outreach recommendations from the CSC, including some potential Spanish language and other influencer opportunities through social media. So it looks like we've got a lot of support for the program, and there's more, I think, refinement that'll be done on the flyer, and then that will likely come back to the CSC for dissemination and distribution as well. So looks like this is going forward, and that there are links in the chat for those of you that want to click on it now to see how you might participate and how you might push the information out. And I think the expectation is that, though, that there might be some additional refinements either to the application or the flyers for it, but that the program's up and running and ready to roll. Awesome. Okay. What additional questions do we have before we move on to the next agenda item? Going once.
I expect
Going
everyone to go
twice.
out. You should all take advantage of this. It's a great program.
Agreed. All right, nice. Thank you so much, both of you. And then what might be helpful too, just to make sure that they have it, Janine, I know they've got Jamie's contact info, but in case they don't have yours, and if you would like to be contacted, it might be helpful to put your info in the chat as well if they have any follow-up questions for you. All right, so I'm going to move on to our next topic and keep us going. We have a topic called residential wood burning that's on the agenda, and it's related to enforcement and just an update on that grant. And I think Jason's going to give us a quick upload and download on that program. So Jason, if you're on the line, take it away.
Yeah, so we gave an update a while back on a lot of our enforcement activities, and we do plan to come back next month with a full update on all of our compliance activities in the community. But this was brought up last week when we were preparing the agenda. So I just threw together a few quick numbers to give everyone kind of an idea of where we are at so far this season with our residential wood burning enforcement. Since we are right in the middle of that, we're just over halfway through that season. Again, that runs from November to February. And our commitment in the SERP, as you recall, was on each day that a curtailment was declared, either a no burning unless registered or no burning for all, we are committed to doing 4 hours of surveillance within the 617 community. So far this season, since the beginning of November, we've done a total of 257 hours of surveillance in the community. From that, we've found 46 violations that have been mailed out. And I did have some other numbers, just kind of how that compares to the rest of the surrounding area. So Fresno County total so far this year, that we found 128 violations, 99 within the entire city of Fresno, and then again 46 just within the 617 community. We were also asked about the number of registered units that we have. Again, these are the clean burning devices that are EPA Phase 2 certified, that can be registered with the district, and that allows those residents to burn on those days when it's just a level 1 curtailment. District-wide, we have just over 1,600 devices that have been registered. 418 of those are within the city of Fresno, and I didn't have time before the meeting tonight to go through all 418 of those and figure out which ones were within the 617 community and which ones were not. But total for the city of Fresno, there's 418 registered devices. And I'll take any questions.
Are there any questions for Jason about residential wood burning, which I know is a hot topic right now because of a number of things, not the least of which is it's cold, and then there's COVID, and there's a lot of certainly local and residential interest in doing that. Any comments or thoughts about those impacts or questions around enforcement of it? Larry, it looks like you have something.
Yeah. What were the 1,600 figure?
1,618 actually is the specific number. That's the total number of registered wood burning devices that we have district wide.
So that's Bakersfield to Modesto?
Yeah, all 8 counties.
Like so how many fireplaces do you think there are? Does that represent 1% or half of 1%?
I don't have that total number in front of me.
Just wondering if you'd seen it somewhere. It sounds like a very small number.
I would imagine, yeah, compared to the total number of residences in the valley, it's going to be a small percentage.
That's maybe one thing we could work on this year, you know, this coming year. Recommend getting the number up.
So one thing, you know, about that number, you know, to not be misleading, you know, it's not to say that there's only a small percentage that are burning cleanly or complying with our rules. I think the vast majority of residences in the valley are choosing to not burn at all as, you know, a result of the curtailments and the restrictions that are in place. And that's, you know, ultimately what we want to encourage. You know, we prefer that people choose to heat their house through alternative means and not burn at all. So, you know, that is an option for those that have the clean burning devices. They can register their unit, but you know, ultimately our goal would be if people just didn't burn at all.
Yeah, I agree. I removed two of my two fireplaces about 8 years ago for that reason. Do you have any numbers like do you still keep track of days of exceedance of the 35 micrograms per cubic meter of wood burning season during the wood burning season?
We do, and maybe somebody else could speak to that.
I could say, I was about to say, I don't have that exactly in front of me, but we can definitely pull some of those numbers, and maybe, especially since the wood burning season is continuing, maybe if it's not at the next meeting, we can have a good summary of the wood burning season, maybe at the March meeting that will show days that were allowed in Fresno County, and that could give us a really good picture of when, even whether it's registered or unregistered devices, kind of all three tiers of burning allowed or not allowed.
Okay, I mean, if we can get something done in the summertime to affect next November, that'd be the right time to do it. Right now, we're in January, and the end of the season is next month. So it's a little too late to do anything for this year.
I think, Jamie, are you talking about some outreach in terms of like getting more people to burn cleanly? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, or better fireplaces, you know, inserts,
So
if they're going to burn.
I can speak a little bit to that. We do have an outreach campaign currently happening that includes some TV commercials. We actually have a new TV commercial. Some of you will be excited to hear it. It's brand new, and it's telling folks that they shouldn't use their outdoor fire pit or fireplace. A lot of folks don't realize that that's also prohibited. So we're doing TV commercials, and we did have some social media planned, but there's some weird stuff going on in social media right now about paying for advertising. So that's on hold for right now. But then we're also doing where if you do certain Google searches, it prioritizes our program and will bounce it into your, like the ads at the top of the Google search, or if you're on social media, some of the ads that, like, if you're looking for certain things in social media, it kind of remembers and will point you to our program then when you go and look for home improvement projects or something like that. I will tell you, in Fresno County, just this past season, year to date, so from the beginning of November until yesterday, actually, we've only had 4 days where folks could burn without restrictions. And then it looks like we've probably had a pretty good breakdown of about the rest of the days being about half and half, being either a no burn for everyone or a no burning unless registered. So again, that no burning unless registered really does limit who can burn. So I want to follow up by saying, if you think if you smell smoke in your neighborhood, if you're like, that smells like smoke, what are folks doing? Let us know. You can give us a call. We love it when folks tell on their neighbors. So give us a call. We will go out there. We're also working, and I think Ryan maybe even talked to Naimeen about some of these issues, to make sure that complaints made through our app that complaints come into us, that we're acting really quickly and that we're circling back around and making sure folks are aware of what's been happening. Then the final thing is that we're actually looking at moving away from kind of the check before you burn message. So that's something that we've been in discussions. We've got a lot of good advice from our EJ partners about, and hopefully we'll begin to see some of that stuff happen for the next season that's coming out. We've kind of been making this slow pivot away from it. I will tell you that I still, every once in a while, not as much as I used to, but we get folks who are just very unhappy that we're telling them what to do in our own home, in their own homes. So there's still some folks who feel very strongly about this on what I think is the wrong side of the issue. But we're continuing to hopefully move that message and let them understand that really it's not only about their neighbor's health, but it's about their own health. And they really should move away from using a wood burning device. So,
hey, Jamie, I was going to jump in real quick.
Brian, go ahead.
To kind of get to Larry's point about switching over to cleaner devices, Nia's going to talk about our Burn Cleaner program, how to participate in that option. You can do that right now. Last year we approved over 4,000 change outs, and so that program sees a lot of participation. And you know, we see strong participation throughout the year actually, but it definitely picks up between October and probably March or April. So maybe we'll kick it over to Nia to give a brief update on the program, how it works, what you might be eligible for, how to participate, because we'd really love to see even more applications come in for the program.
And actually, before Nia starts, if you don't mind, I just want to flag that we have a number of people that want to comment on this, and I want to make sure that you know that I see you. And I'll tell you in order that I've got Isabel, then Nayamin, Ivanka, Ed, Kevin, and Lisa. And then we'll take Nia first, and then we'll go into the comments.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for having me here. This is my first meeting, so I'm excited to be here with everyone. As Brian mentioned, I'll briefly be covering the Burn Cleaner program. It's currently open. If anyone's interested, we encourage you to apply. For those of you who are not familiar with the program itself is for the purpose of providing funding for Valley residents to replace their existing fireplace, whether it's an open hearth, a wood insert, an old wood insert, or old freestanding fire stove, a wood stove, with basically a newer option like a gas insert, or or even an electric pump. This is one of the newer options that we do have available for folks out there. At this time, I'm going to quickly share my screen so I can show you guys our website here. But on our website, you can see that this is the district's website for the Burn Cleaner program. It's easily accessible. If you go on the main website at valleyair.org, it's one of the featured items. So once you click on that, you can see how the requirements and how to apply for the program itself. We've tried to really streamline this program, make it easy for everyone to participate. There's 3 main phases for this particular program. The first phase is to apply. Submit a complete applications with some photos of your old device. We'd like to see how it looks like and just to make sure it's eligible. Phase 2 itself is if you are eligible, you'll be approved for a voucher for up to a certain sum, depending on the type of replacement equipment you actually get. And then phase 3 is once you purchase and install your new device, you can submit a claim to the district and get reimbursed for the value of the voucher. Now, I just want to reiterate that this program is open not only to people who own a house, but if you are a renter, you can actually still participate as long as you get approval from the property owner itself. So want to make sure people are aware of that aspect of the program. And incentives themselves, depending on the type of device you are getting, the incentive levels vary for folks. If you live in a residential property that has access to pipe natural gas, which means you get your gas service through PG&E, you can either get a natural gas insert or a freestanding stove or an electric heat pump. And for a gas unit, you can get up to $3,000. For a electric heat pump, you can get up to $4,000. If you don't have access to pipe natural gas at your house, you can purchase a wood unit. You can get up to $1,000 for a wood unit. You can still get a gas unit or electric heat pump if you'd like to. And if you can see on the screen right here, those are the eligible incentives that are available. One thing I do want to additionally highlight about this program is there's a huge focus on low-income residents. We have a great option. It's called the instant reduction option. If you qualify for low income through this program, we will provide additional incentives if you are purchasing a wood unit. And even if you're not purchasing a wood unit and you qualify for the gas unit, the qualification of low income will allow you to actually reduce the upfront cost of the unit itself when you actually purchase. When you actually purchase it at one of our participating retailers. Instead, for example, if a unit costs $3,000 and if you have a voucher for $3,000, your out-of-pocket cost would be $0 at one of our participating retailers if you do qualify for low income. And currently we have 11 retailers in the Fresno Clovis area that can help you with that process if you are interested. In addition to all that, how you can apply is, it's very simple, straightforward. You can apply online through our application portal here. If you click on application, hopefully it moves. It's a very simple process. It's simple application itself, just basic information about you and your old device and what kind of new device you want to purchase. In addition to submitting this application online, we will need you to upload a few photos that we will verify your eligibility to determine what kind of device you do have. And if you can't apply online, as mentioned earlier, we do have the option of submitting applications via email if you want to just print an application, and the application is actually available on our website here. Apologize, I'm moving quickly here, but at the bottom there is an application that you can actually print and mail to us, or email, take a picture and email to us, whatever the easiest way it is for you to do that. So for this specific program, for this community itself, the South Central Fresno community, for the last 2 years, we've been able to provide 120 projects. We have been able to approve vouchers for 120 projects for $335,000.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Nia. Okay, so as I mentioned before you started, we had a lot of questions and comments on this item, which is exciting, and I love seeing that. And I'll repeat the order. Just hang on to your questions so you don't forget. First, I have Isabel, and then we're going to go to Nayamin, and then Ivanka, and then Ed, and then Kevin, and then Lisa. That's the order that we'll take the questions in, and so we will start, or comments, and we'll start with Isabel. And then I will ask everyone to, Nia, and I think others, if there's any Air District notes that need to be dropped into the chat, please do drop those into the chat so that we can have a record of any links or other places that people can apply or see additional information. And as a reminder to the CSC, all the meeting summaries have the full chat log. And so if you forget something or you don't remember and you can't quite remember the link, you can always go to a meeting summary and that will be in the chat log and the links will be there for you. So Isabel, what's your question or comment?
Ok, mi pregunta es, para la quema de leña residencial, ¿eso aplica para nada más para las chimeneas o para cuando están las personas como haciendo lumbre afuera para calentarse o para tal vez para cocinar algo, pero queman mucha leña?
So Isabel mentions for the residential wood burning, is that only for the chimneys, or does it also involve when people are outside with a fire just to warm themselves up or sometimes to cook something? Either way, they burn a lot of wood.
Yeah, so our restrictions on the residential wood burning applies to both the fireplace and also the outdoor wood burning. Now you did mention cooking. If they're burning just clean wood in like a barbecue or something for cooking food, that's okay, but they do have to put it out as soon as they're done cooking. But any other just open burning for recreational purposes, to have a fire, you know, outdoors, that is restricted on those days when a curtailment is declared.
Just want to add one thing on everything Jason said was right. The key point with outdoor, like cooking fires, are the size of the fire has to be of such to cook the material. So you can't have a huge bonfire in your backyard and you know, and the district staff show up on a complaint and you know, have a hot dog that you put on top of it and it's going to be okay. It's a cooking fire. And I bring that up because those exact scenarios have happened when we've gone out on complaints, and you know, people have frozen steaks that they try to put on top of burn barrels and try to claim that they're cooking food. And no, the size of the fire has to be appropriate size for what's being cooked, and you know, they can't be recreational. You know, you're sitting around a burn dish and then you have marshmallows and things like that. It's like the primary purpose of the fire itself is to cook materials. So just a couple of distinctions. Thanks.
Thank you, Ryan, for that clarification. Naimeen, you're next if you could unmute yourself.
Yes, so I am going to reiterate what I just said. You are not going to cut it if you just have that application in a website. You need to make the program more accessible. And by accessible, I also mean that we're going to provide targeted outreach to the AB 617 area. So my question is, any of the outreach strategies right now have what extra, what special has to be done to target AB 617 residents? And of all the numbers that you mentioned of people that have, you know, applied to replace their fireplaces, what percentage is in the AB 617 area? Because we need to know we're making a difference. I don't care, honestly, at this point, if it's, you know, in the 8 counties. We want to know what difference are we making in the AB 617 area, and we are not going to know until we also know how we're trying to reach these people who live in these neighborhoods. The other thing I would say is that I think there has been an improvement in the communication. Kudos, Jamie. I saw that. I watched the ad where you have actually your board members explaining what check before you burn mean. However, the billboard with their faces is still everywhere. And I'm not going to stop saying it until that is changed. Why is not something more that, you know, again, if I go and make do a survey to anyone in the, you know, common resident, do you know who that is in the billboard? They don't know. And they don't put the two things together, because you're going to watch the billboard when you're driving. You're just going to see visually that's going to be an impact. So we have shown you that image of the fireplace instead of the fireplace, the cigarette. Why don't we use something like that? That is, you know, you don't even need to read what the billboard says. Just see the image and you get it in 10 seconds. So we need to be more targeted in the outreach and use better mechanisms to convey the right message. And one more thing, we need, and I already have this discussion with Ryan, so, you know, you already know it, but I'm going to repeat it here. You need to send inspectors when the report is submitted. I submitted a report. It was not an AB 617, but it was a fireplace burning on January 1st at 3 p.m. when the temperature was almost 60 degrees. Nobody needs their fireplace when we're, you know, almost not in a sweater. And the inspector didn't show up until the following day. Sure enough, he couldn't verify my report. And unfortunately, I didn't have a picture or my phone with me to take a picture. So, you know, the key is that you need to send the inspector when the report is made. So I'll stop there.
Thanks, Naimeen. I see Jamie is nodding her head, and I want to flag for everyone that we're a little over time on this item, but there's still a lot of interest and conversation that needs to happen. So we're going to keep going. We'll make the time up. And I want to go to Ivanka. Thank you so much for your patience. Good to see you this month. And Ivanka, please ask your question or make your comment.
Hello, everybody. The first point was more of a question of the violations that were documented so far. How many of those actually claimed that are in 617 area claim that that's their only heat source? And if you give a violation to somebody who states, or you can confirm that's their only heat source and they don't have a wall, furnace, or something else, then are you targeting them at that moment to make sure that they are one of the first ones in line to be eligible for a registered device? That's pretty much the question of just knowing. You got to follow those numbers enough to know what the outcome is going to be. And then the other part is, while the incentive program, the general incentive program, whether it's within 617 or district-wide, the end goal should still be phasing out wood burning, not just improvement to a better registered device. So those that are coming in saying, oh, I want to upgrade my old burning furnace or my old stove to a registered wood stove, again, if that house has another source of heat, they should just be found ineligible with a device that's not able to be registered. And there needs to be more of curbing it to get to that point that we are completely phasing out wood burning stoves.
And we should have clarified that in the AB 617 community, it's only for gas inserts. We will not pay for wood burning devices if folks have the ability to put in a gas device.
Thanks for that clarification, Jamie. I think Ivanka's done. Thank you for that comment, Ivanka. Good suggestions, and I'm moving to Ed Ward.
Thank you. I track RAN for the sites that we have people working at my company. And I noted today at 10 o'clock, which was somewhat surprising, that Visalia, Modesto, Santa Maria, Eureka, and Redding were all at 4, which is pretty dirty, and it's about wood burning. I was actually kind of shocked because those are higher numbers than I've seen for quite a while. I mean, Visalia is, and at 11 o'clock, Visalia was at a 4. Visalia, Porterville, Bakersfield typically are those kind of numbers rather than some of these other sites. But with all that said, there's a piece of this that I think we might be able to back into, and it may be too late this year, but it's the fact that usually November, December is when farmers redevelop their orchards, and these trees come down and they have to determine how they're going to deal with those trees. Now, many farmers, you'll see more and more, are chipping their trees, but there's still those farmers that have people that come in and cut the tree and then take the firewood, stack it, and sell it. My comment is that we probably pay a high dividend if we bought up those orchards that were being redeveloped. I'm sorry.
I think someone accidentally came off mute. You can continue.
No problem. If we looked at trying to actually go out and reach out into the farming community, I mean, I know today where there's piles of wood to be sold for wood burning that are as tall as the district building on Gettysburg and as long as the district building on Gettysburg. There's a lot of wood out there. And if we make that more difficult, people will automatically move to other sources of heating. Just a thought as we move forward. Thank you.
Can I comment on that? I grew up wooding with my father, and they don't pull up the trees in the fall. They start to pull up the trees in, I want to say May, June, and July, because I just remember cutting tons of walnut trees and having to throw wood literally every day after school in the heat of the summer in the valley. So, when you talk about purchasing and getting those trees out of the system, you have to look earlier in the season. Thank you.
Thanks for those combo comments, both Lisa and Ed. I do want to acknowledge those two and say, Kevin and Lisa, thank you both for your patience in making your comments. Did the Air District want to comment on Ed's original thought, or just take notes and call it good?
I was just going to comment just really quickly on the air quality. You're totally right, Ed, and the district actually recognizes it's been a really dirty week. We actually just put out a press release about how there's just high pressure over us. I agree, it's higher than we've seen in a while. We've we've been really fortunate. I think a lot of the measures we've taken over the past several years have made us to where we've had relatively clean, or, you know, relative to how dirty maybe it used to be in the winter, relatively clean. So it's really striking when we see those level 3s and level 4s in RAN. And I agree, it's pretty much across the valley right now. So just kind of a moment to talk about that.
You know what? Thank you, Jessica. I would just add that if any of the CSC members, residents, are not plugged into RAN, it's really a good, simple advisory to give you an idea of what air quality looks like. And I started when OSHA said that if you have men working out in the fire areas or are affected by fire smoke, you have to protect them. And I use RAN for that, and it's very helpful.
I agree. And then one thing I wanted to add to that comment as well is, because of that poor air quality, not only did we talk about it in that press release, we urged people not to burn. And in actually the past several days, and including tomorrow in Fresno County, there's no burning for anyone, registered or unregistered. So we're definitely, you know, linking that up with the air quality for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Jessica and Ed, and I see Kevin and Lisa. And I will throw in one comment, just interjected from a local government perspective. We work with special districts as well, and one thing that we're seeing because of COVID and because of some challenges with finances, somebody was talking a little bit about equity, and one thing you might see is increases in these kinds of challenges with burning in alternative heat sources for those very reasons. Some of them financial, and some of them are based on, you know, social distancing. And so we've seen that in other parts of the state, and certainly something to consider as you guys explore how to mitigate that, and how this committee can play a role in helping be both fair but also implement your CERP. Kevin.
Hi, thanks for your time, and I'm happy to wait while others continue to make comments. It's great to have that many people interested in something like this. And I want to thank the district for providing the data on Southwest Fresno projects, because CCAC was funded through an ARB SEP to spend almost a year doing door-to-door outreach on this program. And one of the communities that got the most effort on that project was Southwest Fresno. So our goal was to personally talk to folks in those communities who had fireplaces on their homes, and convey that same message, that these programs are out there. The program is amazing. It's just gotten that much better year by year. Every year it seems to improve. To me, it's one of the leading incentive programs the district has, and one of the few that are public facing that actually residents can take advantage of. However, for our communities that we're talking about, unfortunately, television and other public medias like that are not the best ways to reach most of them. And working with other community organizations in those communities that are more focused there, and then thinking bigger picture about how do we make that happen across the region is the way we tend to focus on things at CCAC, kind of starting little and being big, becoming big, rather than the other way around. But I think, again, this is a great program. I want to really emphasize the assets located within this program, especially the heat pumps. So whether or not people are using that device, to the Air District's credit, they recognize that someone may move there eventually that does use it, or live there who does. And so they're doing preventative medicine essentially here by making sure it's sort of taken out of the equation. So our philosophy is, everywhere there's a fireplace, let's get this taken care of. We prefer an electric alternative, obviously, but we need to get wood burning, or even the opportunity to wood burn, out of there. And this program is unique and needs to be flexed to its fullest. So the best thing I could ever be able to report to this group is that the Air District ran out of money to fund the burn cleaner program. That would be a great moment in time. So I'm excited about this program. I'm glad that the CSC is excited. And again, while we all don't want to see burning, the reality is, we've got folks who, in some cases, this is their only way to heat their homes. And they can actually get an exemption from this program if that's proven to be true. But given the size of the incentive has increased to such a level, and the Air District has committed that regardless if people are living in poverty and can't afford, even with that, to take care of it, that they'll make sure that it happens. So again, I have to say we want to see that happen more often as well in these other programs. So that's all I really had to say about that. Thank you. This is a great program.
Thanks for those comments, Kevin. I appreciate it. Lisa, ready to close us out unless, and Ryan, I did see your hand go up and then down. If you would like to comment after Lisa, feel free to go ahead. Lisa, please close us out on this item and then we'll move to our next agenda.
I have a couple of questions actually on wood burning. What are the reminders to, it's basically a bunch of questions regarding marketing. What is the outreach to the news media? Because I love AJ over at 24 as far as doing maybe some special informational doodads with him, or even what is the timeline for the 21-22 fall campaign? Or have you established what your fall campaign is going to be like? Because winter's coming to a close. So I would start thinking about 2021, and also too, everybody's going to be getting their tax refund. I keep getting that, damn TurboTax thing, file your taxes. I file my taxes once every 3 years. So, how can you tie in like tax season with this to get it done? And what is the outreach to real estate agents? Because when a home goes up for sale, they're always looking at what sort of improvements need to be made to get a better deal out of selling a home. And this may be some incentives, or real estate agents talk to a lot of people about homes buying and selling. This may be another area of outreach that you guys can go, not only for wood burning, but also for the clean burn program. And also too, you guys do provide refunds and rebates and all that for your clean burn program. But, in this economic period of COVID, to get me to buy something, give me a $50 incentive, give me a gift certificate somewhere to, as a thank you for actually doing something. Not only are you going to, give me something, but it's always nice to get a little thank you on top of it. Have you thought about doing something in regards to that, especially during this time of COVID where people, are hit pretty much really hard economically? Just a thought.
Those are good questions, Lisa. Thank you for those. And I know Jamie's, she got up and I think she heard you, I think.
Yeah, and Lisa, we're ringing the bell for Lisa because she hit on a lot of things. First of all, with regard to the media, we're very fortunate in that the weather folks, as a general rule, do give the wood burning status in their evening weather report. So they do let folks know whether it's burning discouraged, no burning unless registered, or no burning for all category. So we do have a good relationship with them, and we do talk to them on a fairly regular basis. And when we send out press releases like what we did yesterday, we'll get a fair amount of calls from them, and often we'll do interviews for them. So that's great. We generally begin planning the 2021-22 season around about kind of early summer. We have to be a little bit careful because we've got to align it with our fiscal year, and our fiscal year begins July 1st. So we usually have a pretty good idea of what we're going to do July 1st. Going into the next fiscal year, this year we're taking a little closer look at it because, as I mentioned, we're moving away from some of our old branding to some new branding. And then the realtors and working with real estate, we are constantly looking to do more outreach for them. Fortunately, before COVID, we were really lucky in that we were being invited to their meetings on a fairly regular basis, both the little agencies, whether it was, Caldwell Banker or Keller Williams, we were being able to go to their meetings. And then we were also meeting with some of the Association of Realtors, working with them. COVID, I will tell you, has slowed that down significantly, but I have a staff person, Cassandra, who, oh no, she just went out, I forgot, she just went out to have a baby. So she's like my realtor person, and we have actually done a little bit of outreach to that community, even with COVID. But all of those things you mentioned are on our list, and we're always looking to beef them up and do a little bit more moving forward. So good thinking.
Thank you, Jamie, and thank you, Lisa, and everyone who commented on that item. Again, we're a little over time on the agenda schedule, but I do think that we want to make sure that this committee gets to say and speak about the things that are of interest and importance, and so we're going to make the time up. That being said, Laura, I do see your hand, and if you have a very short comment, we can take it off schedule, though there is going to be a public comment section at the very end, but if you do have a short comment or question related to wood burning, we'll take it really quickly now.
Excuse me, Erica, my last question wasn't answered about the burn cleaner program. Is there any other kind of bump up incentives that can be given during this time of economic hits of COVID?
Good question. I'll ask you to put that in the chat if you don't mind, Lisa. It looks like Jamie stepped away from her desk. So I will ask Laura to make her quick comment. And if you wouldn't mind typing that into the chat, we can ask the Air District to answer that in between discussion items. Laura, do you have a quick comment about or a question about wood burning?
Yes, but natural gas isn't that much better when it's in the ovens and they're running the ovens and the stove at the same time as reach unsafe levels of NOx in their house. It's better to cook on a wood burning device with a filter, special filters and things and inserts and devices in it. Because, if they let that out, if they vented out the hood, it won't be in their house, but wouldn't the whole neighborhood, if everyone had everyone had natural gas stoves, wouldn't the whole neighborhood have like a NOx problem? Especially in apartment complexes.
It's a good technical question. I'll let the Air District answer that in the chat in the interest of time, but I do appreciate that comment. Thank you, Laura. And we're going to keep on going. And please keep an eye on the chat, Laura, for that answer. I'll ask the Air District to validate that assessment or let you know if there's any additional information related to that natural gas versus wood burning. Thanks for that. And then Jamie, you stepped away, but Lisa did have a different additional question she's going to drop in the chat for you to answer related to a program and the status of that. All right, so we are a little over time, but we're doing okay, guys, and we're going to still end on time. We are going to talk next about the SERP tracker. And the funny thing is that it feels like a lifetime ago, but just last month in December, we had a really robust conversation about the SERP tracker. We talked about what you liked and didn't like about the format, the content, a number of things. And we heard a lot from you both during that meeting and then even in between meetings, the Air District had some conversations with a number of you about how to make refinements to that document. And obviously we've taken a little bit of time off of this agenda item. And so what I will say is that a new version has been shared with you. It was linked to the digital agenda that was sent to everyone. And that is kind of the new look and feel, certainly, and maybe not final, but definitely reflecting a number of the comments. And again, that balance of comments, some people wanted more information, some people wanted a lot less, and the Air District tried to hear and appreciate the thoughts and comments from all. So today's agenda item specifically related to the SERP is to have the Air District walk you through what it looks like now, give a little bit of a high level overview of what they've done and maybe describe some of the columns. And then we're going to talk very generically about what you like and don't like. We're not going to do a deep dive on additional adjustments because we've had a lot of people weigh in already and we're running a little light on time, but we do want to make sure that the Air District has a chance to talk to you about the format, but also about the progress. The SERP tracker, the goal of it, independent of what it looks like, is to make sure that you all know what's happening with the implementation. So you're going to hear a little bit about both, and I'm going to turn it over to Jess to do those things and acknowledge and thank everyone that has weighed in already. And once again, when we do get back to the part about how we're going to connect the next version of this, I want to flag for you all that, you know, we can't probably do editing by committee. That's a little hard, but we definitely want to hear from some of those unheard voices. So while Jess is getting set up, I just want to thank everyone that's already weighed in and acknowledge that there isn't a document like this yet. And one thing that we're learning is that there's no other AB 617 communities that are doing this. And so you're all helping develop a template for this process, not just for Fresno, but maybe other communities as well. Jess, I'll turn it over to you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Erica. Can everyone hear me? See the tracker? We're good. Awesome. Well, I just want to first start off by thanking not only everyone who's, as Erica mentioned, given really a lot of feedback. I'd say probably the past 6 months, we've been in some version of a progress tracker. And really, we have heard so much about wanting to see more of where the district is at with a lot of this, but also see sort of what the plan is year by year into the future. A lot of what we heard back, and we actually got a really great draft from Lisa, was things related to a Gantt chart. And for those that don't know what a Gantt chart is, it's essentially a way to visualize where we're at, where the progress is being made, and then maybe where we plan to be in the future. And so we certainly want to recognize everyone's feedback, especially all of the work that Lisa put into the draft that she sent over to us, and try to acknowledge, as Erica said, we are just trying to find a balance between some of the inputs that we've had, some of the want more detail, want less detail, maybe want things structured in a way that's easy to quickly look at and read. So I'll just quickly go over the columns and sort of explain what the feedback was that we got that led to these different sort of layouts. So I'll start with a lot of what we heard was we wanted a quick way to see what the commitments were in the CERT. Our original tracker was very word heavy. We got a lot of comments on, hey, let's not waste space. We want to be able to see things a lot quicker. So we don't need as many words as much as we need quick metrics. So we've added a column that's called committed funding in units. And depending on the type of measure, it either has the committed funding amount and what that funding is for, or it might have the committed outreach plan, the committed surveillance hours, the committed enforcement actions, if there was something actually quantifiable in the commitment. As you know, in the CERT, sometimes the commitment was maybe just to reach out or partner with someone, so there might not be yet a commitment or funding attached to that based on what's already in the CERT that we've been working through the past year. Another big thing we heard was we wanted to see what we've done to date. We wanted a quick way, and this was a lot of the comments we heard, to see how much have we funded and how many units have we replaced. We don't need to read a whole paragraph about that. So we certainly took that to heart, and that's what this big bold column is. So this is, for example, replaced wood burning devices. This isn't to say that we haven't done this type of effort already. You just heard a huge update about it. But in particular regards to funding allocated in the CERP, we committed 1.5 million for 500 devices. And so far, we have allocated $0 and replaced 0 devices. And the reason that is based on one of our other new columns. So as you've heard a lot through the incentives updates, a lot of these measures, we need to go through development of guidelines for the money from CARB to be approved to be spent on these projects. So this column allows you to see whether or not that the funding guidelines are being developed, and if they've been developed, whether they've been submitted and then subsequently approved by CARB. So in the example I was just using, the reason we haven't spent any is because we are still developing, finalizing development of those guidelines. We'll submit them to CARB shortly, and once approved, then we can start working with this committee on all the great outreach feedback you just gave us and really start targeting all of the different devices we want to fund. One thing I kind of want to note here, just because I'm actually on this measure, this first measure, for example, alternatives to ag burning, where we're targeting this amount for this many acres, it says submitted. We actually just this week got actually approval from CARB. So we're going to update this tracker. We'll put a link here. But if you actually go to our district's website, this is just sort of an aside, you can look in our in our emissions reduction programs column right here. Oops, sorry, no, grants and incentives program column here. And it will not only show you a list of all of the program plans that we've submitted in both English and Spanish, but you will be able to see the approval. And since we just got that, we just added that here. So we will add this to the tracker very shortly. Another thing I wanted to point out, and this is certainly related to a lot of the feedback, especially from Lisa, is we want to know, and it's definitely makes sense that the committee wants to know, okay, this is where we've committed, this is where we are to date, but really what's the plan moving forward, and what can we expect each year? So here we have 2021 through 2024 and the planned funding or units for each of these. So in this case, you can see that we want in this year to at least, this is definitely not necessarily a cap, but at least target getting 125 devices within the AB 617 community. And then moving forward, if we target all of these, that should get us toward our full target of 500 devices by the end of the program. And then finally, we have the target reductions in tons for the different pollutants that we're targeting with each of these measures. And that was a lot of feedback we got too. That was not in our tracker before. And so people can see if they're comparing, for example, when we're doing our strategic planning and we really want to understand a lot of these different measures and how they stack up against each other, we can have a quicker way of looking how much it's costing us and what we're really getting out of it. And that's here for anything that has sort of a target reduction in the CERT, something we can quantify in the CERT. And then just really quickly, these status updates, we hear you, we heard a lot of feedback of let's make these quick and easy to read. So we made them bullet points, we made them shorter. We took out a lot of the fluffy language that just said the district will, the district has, and just made them quick and to the point. And so hopefully this is a little bit more succinct. Hopefully it shows you a quicker picture of what's been happening, but we're certainly, as Erica mentioned, for especially the residents, we want to just hear some feedback on hopefully this is just a helpful tool that expands a lot on the tracker that we had.
Awesome, Jess. Thank you for that really fast download on the tracker and how far it's come really in the last month or so, particularly given the holiday season. So much appreciated on that. I want to start with some resident feedback on this. I would love to hear from any residents on the line. You know, we definitely want to get your input, given that we're running short on time. If you've got any residents that have a feeling about the direction of it, and if you feel like this is user-friendly for you and useful, we'd love to hear it. Or if you feel like there's an adjustment that could be made to make this work better for you, we'd love to hear that now. Any residents with comments, please raise your hand or unmute yourselves. And I also want to flag our Spanish line, who I haven't heard from in a little while. I want to make sure we are giving them the opportunity to weigh in too. And while we are waiting, I see a hand from Lisa. Lisa, would you like to make a comment?
Yeah, just to think that I blew off Christmas to provide you with that Gantt chart, and this is what I get, which does not make me at all happy. There is no start or end dates or major steps in what we need to know and what the timeline is on this. And that's the preference for me. I'm a very visual person. I need to know when something starts, when are the major milestones in each of the elements that we're dealing with, and that is not included in here. I need to know, you know, are you going to do a proper Gantt chart as we go more into a strategic plan? Because I think that is something that we are in desperate need of. This is not good staff work as far as I'm concerned. And, you know, I've been asking for, you know, whether it be a Gantt chart or whether it's some other form for 2 years now. I canceled Christmas to type up that Gantt chart and to get it going. And, you know, I even requested Jessica to call me so we can talk about this, and not a single phone call was made. You know, I am not at all happy with this product. For as long as we've been talking about, you know, creating milestones and creating something that is more understandable to everybody in the committee. I understand, I come from a planning background. I think very systematically, but I also understand other people's concerns and issues on the committee, but this still isn't it.
Thanks, Lisa. Do
And,
we have
you
any
know,
other thoughts on?
And I
Thank
would
you,
hope
Lisa. We've
that's-
got your comments and we appreciate your time. And I definitely want to leave the comment window open. Thanks, Lisa. And I can sense your frustration, and I definitely hear it, and I think it's been noted. And we apologize for any time that you feel was not well spent on your part.
No,
Any
it was
other
well spent
comments
the
on
part of
what
the
work?
community.
Agree. I hear you. Thank you, Lisa. Any other comments on other elements of this that we should consider, or that work or that don't work, or that, and again, we're not going to be able to do this by committee tonight. We're certainly a little bit over time, but I did want to acknowledge for some of you, either residents or other CSC members, anything that works or doesn't work for you that's dramatic, and this will continue to be refined. And again, we will definitely use this as we look at strategic planning and 2021 planning and priority setting. So think about it as something you should be able to click on and have an idea of where we are, what we're doing, and progress that's being made. So any other comments before we move on to our updates for the committees? All right. Hearing none, we will say thank you to everyone that's provided feedback, and we have gotten a lot of it, some of it conflicting, some of it not. But again, don't want to discount anything that Lisa said. She has done a yeoman's work moving a lot of these efforts forward. I want to acknowledge and recognize her. Even though ILG doesn't do it, we've seen a lot of that effort, and want to make sure she hears that, certainly from us, and I think the Air District feels it as well. The next steps of the tracker are that you'll see it continue to kind of adjust. It's a dynamic document. Jess is back from maternity leave, and I think that she will be working on this moving forward to make sure that it continues to get a little closer to what you like and what you need. And we appreciate the feedback that you get, even sometimes when it conflicts. And so we appreciate that's how a committee works, and it's going to be messy. And we appreciate the flexibility you all give every day and in every meeting. All right, moving on to our next item. It's the standing update. This is at usually the beginning of the meeting, and it's at the end this time. It's our last agenda item. And as you'll see on the agenda, we're going to start with truck rerouting, and then we're going to go to kind of a bulk recap and update from school filtration, vegetative barriers, bus, and air monitoring. So we'll start with our truck rerouting subcommittee, and I think we've got the city of Fresno still on the line, and I think I see Scott somewhere. Then Scott, if you've got an update on the truck rerouting subcommittee, we'd love to hear it.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Scott Mosier, City of Fresno. Great to see you all and be back together. I just wanted to share briefly that the truck rerouting subcommittee has been hard at work, and a lot of good discussion really on things that we want in the request for proposal, the RFP, that really get at purpose and need for the study, what we want in that consultant scope, how we handle the health aspects of it. We've had some discussions about potentially contracting directly with a university, being perhaps better suited in a public health department to conduct that analysis as compared to a consultant, especially an out-of-town consultant versus some local Valley University expertise. But that said, we still have some more work to do with through our subcommittee process. Have some great energy there. Our goal really time-wise, given that the subcommittee has asked that both the RFP and the interagency agreement between the city and the Air District, that both of those come before the subcommittee for review and approval, and then come to the larger community steering committee for review and approval. Our goal as a city of Fresno would be to be back to the steering committee at large at the March meeting with an RFP with that consensus of the subcommittee. And then at that point, if that were blessed by the steering committee in March, that RFP could go out on the street and then again go through this selection process with a consultant and have the draft consultant agreement, the contract, be back before the steering committee in June, and then with a Fresno City Council award of that contract in July. So, you know, and what I would add is one thing we talked about early on was just a, you know, a concern to note that with the COVID-19 situation, that traffic volumes would be lower on the roadways in the area. It would be more ideal to get some more quote unquote normal volumes of activity. So with this time frame, although I would have loved to be started earlier, if we get a consultant underway in July, we have a great vaccination process going. Hopefully our COVID numbers going down. That may give us some even better data to work with, you know, come late summer, early fall. And all in all, again, a truck rerouting study. Overall, we'd anticipate about a year of that effort of good community engagement, analysis, and ultimately, hopefully some change. We'd seek some change in the adopted truck routes. And just wanted to briefly share about that and open it up if there are questions.
What questions do we have for Scott related to the truck rerouting subcommittee or the schedule for the RFP? I see a question from Lisa.
Hey, Scott, let's talk money.
Absolutely. Lisa, what's your question?
Well, do you want to discuss the 250,000 from the city and what happened about that?
I can definitely share. So
thank you.
There was during our Fresno City Council amended budget discussions in October, which is basically postponed from June to October to get a really better handle on actual revenues and what's happening due to COVID-19. So in October, there was a City Council budget motion for $250,000 for the study. So, and budget motions, there are a number of funding sources. You know, it's not all like general fund. There are various city revenues, right, ranging from federal, state grants, interagency dollars, things like Measure C, gas tax, park money. What are we? You know, we deal with all these different factors. So with that budget motion, the city of Fresno as a whole, that plus all the other motions, the city was out of balance by over $4 million in the general fund, wherein basically the city council budget motions threw the budget out of balance. And out of that, some remained in the general fund and others not. So when the final budget was adopted, that in the detail, the line item detail, which I was not involved with, but that budget motion was funded basically to put $250,000 of the Air District AB 617 money into our department adopted budget toward the truck rerouting study. So that action, although there was some confusion on it, as it stands right now on paper, the city doesn't have any additional dollars beyond our soft match of about 60,000+. That said, if ultimately, you know, as I shared time-wise, if we wind up with a consultant contract in July, if the policy decision is that the city will put in, Lisa, you referenced 250,000, that would be the next fiscal year. And if that's the policy direction, that could certainly be done.
Thanks, Scott. I see Greg's hand, and he might want to support or add to your comment. Greg, did you want to weigh in?
No, I just wanted to agree with Scott that, look, this was a decision. It was about parks, you know, salaries, et cetera. And you know, with all of the budget motions at over $4 million, something had to go, and this happened to be the one. We look forward to continue to work with the council to do this correctly in the upcoming budget, but we did accept the $250,000 allotment from the Air District, and we're very thankful.
Thank you. So if I can confirm that what I think I heard you say is that, you know, the Air District still has committed its funding and that the RFP can still move forward on the schedule that Scott has mentioned. The city funding is tentative, given that they've removed it for this current budget cycle, but they could bring it up again in July or for the June-July kind of a fiscal year review of the budget. But that the RFP can move forward with the funding from the Air District that has been allocated at the $250,000 level, and I think even potentially, I think at the $500,000 level if necessary. Tell me if I'm wrong on any of that, but that I think is what I heard, and via nod or thumbs up if I got it right, then we're good. Awesome. I see three hands. Greg, your hand's up again. Greg, did you want to say one more thing before I jump to Kevin and then Sylvester?
So I just want to confirm you're on track. However, we don't have the spending authority to do the additional $250,000 until the council approves that. And we'd like to see that done during the budget process. We are soon to do mid-year budget adoptions. And our prayer and our hope is that we do not end the fiscal year in a negative and have to do layoffs. So this is what it's really coming down to right now.
Thanks, Greg. Kevin, I see your hand.
So if I hear this correctly, as you just restated, Raina, so the city somehow in its beneficence and spending under the present administration that just ended up with a budget deficit. And I have to comment, when the state of California somehow did it right and ends up 15 billion to the good, that just amazes me in and of itself and should raise a lot of eyebrows. And I'm concerned and interested that here's a group that is fronting a match of 50% of the funding. I mean, that just doesn't happen all that often, of $250,000, which is a pretty tiny part of that overall $4 million cut, and represents maybe one person's salary, depending on that person, maybe a little bit, maybe more like 1.5 persons. And I wouldn't want to see anybody's salary get cut, certainly, but there's a huge maze of programs representing tens of millions of dollars within the city budget, over $100 million. I suppose, in the end, and somehow couldn't scrape up the $250,000 match. You know, I'm just, my gut reaction is to be really, really disappointed in I live in the city of Fresno, in an older area of the city, considered disadvantaged. And, you know, it's just hard to believe. And I know Measure P is brand new. So Greg, hopefully during this mid-year budget period, the city will take a look at this windfall, essentially, that they have. And while that money can't be used for this, perhaps there's, something they can do, considering that's going to be retroactive. But I really think, I would love to hear from some members of the city council on this, if one can be persuaded to, or the council president to join this meeting. I'd love to have the Air District reach out to them and ask them to join this meeting and explain this to us. And I wonder, if in some way, shape, or form, the committee should have been notified that this was a potential action, and so that members of the committee could have showed up at the meeting where this was considered and invested our time to advocate for this. I have to tell you, I feel completely blindsided here. It never occurred to me that this, it's just a bit petty to me. I'm sorry. And Again,
Yeah.
I'll just let it go here before I dig the hole too much deeper.
Thank you for that comment, Kevin.
Let's get that
Yeah,
done.
thank you for that comment, Kevin. And I want to flag a couple things. One, it is 7:22, and I promise you all that we end on time as much as or as close as possible. There are 4 hands that I see. One non-raised is Diamine. We're going to slot her in second. I'll have Sylvester, Ivanka, and then Naimeen and Lisa that I will take in that order. And I'm making, Kimberly McCoy as well. We'll add Kimberly to this. And then we do want to end as quickly as possible. So if you can keep your comments quick and short, I would appreciate that, given that we do have one other committee update to give. So next on the list is Sylvester.
Thank you, Erica, for hosting. I appreciate it very much. You're an outstanding host. First of all, I want to thank every person on this call that's been involved in this process over 6 months, a year, I guess. Through these very difficult times in America, and particularly here in Fresno as well, I've come to understand how much of a sacrifice it is for everyone's time on this committee and in this process. So I want to thank each and every person. You guys are taking the time out.
Sylvester, I just want to make sure we can hear you. Is everyone else hearing a back and forth for him? Yeah, if you can get a little closer to your mic, we are hearing only every other word that you're saying, and I just want to make sure we capture your comment.
Okay. Well, first of all, I just want to thank everyone for all their sacrifice over this long period in this process. It's a very difficult time in our country. And I really have come to appreciate the time that each and every one of us take out to try to make a difference in a community that don't belong to some of us and do belong to some of us. But throughout the time, I want to say thank you to everyone from the bottom of my heart. I really understand the sacrifice. Also, I want to be very brief. Greg Barfield, I empathize with you. It's typically the brother at the end of the day comes and gives all the bad news to the hood. And here you are carrying the city's water and excuses. It's okay. You're an employee. No problem. I love you. Scott, I love you too. I've gotten to know you over the last couple of years, and you've become an expert at giving the budget excuse. Everything I've seen fall short in Southwest Fresno and throughout the entire city, I see you getting on the news and talking about how we just couldn't fit it into the budget. But at that same time, those communities, those businesses, those areas, those individuals that have the influence to get it in the budget, you get it into the budget, Scott. And you've been doing it, and people in your position have been doing it for over 100 years in Fresno. That's how this city got so separated, just like the country is separated. You guys are gonna have to stop giving the $250,000 excuse to Southwest Fresno in the budget. Give it to Copper River. Give it to North Fresno. Give it to Northeast Fresno. So I just want to say that I'm sure we're gonna get it there because of all the folks that live in the community, invest in the community of AB 617. I'm the person on this call that will not tolerate your excuses about the budget. This city and cities like Fresno across the country are going to have to start being sued for intentionally impoverishing certain areas, intentionally neglecting people. I'm so glad to be involved in these types of meetings and projects because it's given me the knowledge I need to identify the planning process over the last 100 years that all the cities have been employing throughout the municipalities. These communities and these areas don't get this way unless they're planned. And you are the director of public works and planning. So I want to leave it at that. I'm involved with the city on several projects, and I'm sure I'll be talking to Scott probably tomorrow and the next day on a couple other heavy things. So you'll know not to tell me about a budget shortfall. I will not accept it. And I want this committee not to accept it. Thank you very much. God bless everyone.
Thank you, Sylvester. I really appreciate that comment. And I think that there are four other people with their hands raised. And if your comments are dramatically different than Sylvester's, I'd like to keep your hands raised. If they echo those sentiments, feel free to just show a reaction and lower your hand. I do want to flag that at 7:28, I am perfectly happy to keep going on this meeting and finish this conversation and let everyone speak before we move on to the other update, but I do want to be respectful of your time. And so we want to keep moving as quickly as possible. And I think I said I would go to, I haven't heard from Kimberly today, so I'd like to move to Kimberly because she hasn't talked. If you don't mind, Ivanka and Lisa, you both had at least a chance to make a comment. Kim, would you like to make a comment? And then I'll move, Naimeen, I know you're on that list as well that you wanted to talk if you still do want to. I will keep on going. So Kim, you're first, please.
Yes, I just want to refer to an email that Scott was on along with Lisa Flores, myself, Naimeen, and Ivanka about the money that was supposed to be allocated to the truck reroute. And from that email, from what I'm reading, it shows that the funds were confirmed to be available for the project as approved by council adopted budget. So I'm trying to figure out who's telling the truth, who's not telling the truth. It's like it's the blame game here. And I just want to know if the money is there, because from the email that I received from Miguel Arias, and Scott's on that email, that those funds are there along with the AB 617 funds that's going to be allocated to the truck reroute. So there's a confusion here. I'm not understanding what's going on because it passed. Now, if there was amendments to the budget, I think that this committee should have been notified. We should have been present so we can advocate for those funds to still be allocated to the truck reroute study because it's very needed. And I'm just very caught off guard with this because I thought that those funds were confirmed from the email. That's just what I had to say. Thank you, Erica, for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Kim. Does the city want to comment on that?
Yes, this is Scott. I'd be glad to share. Kim, yes, I agree that is a confusing process. So yes, that budget motion did pass along with quite a number. I don't recall the total. It may have been upwards of 50 budget motions. The mayor's initial budget was balanced. By the time the city council was done passing budget motions, that resulted in over $4 million of proposed spending beyond the revenues that were available. So the final budget that the council voted on did not have $250,000 of general fund for the truck rerouting study. And there were quite a number of others that were reduced. They did include the Air District funding for that. So again, I'm available by email or can dialogue on that. I just want to encourage the steering committee, though, that doesn't mean a no forever. It was a complex process, a lot of motions and a lot happening quickly. And the timing when we really need those dollars is when the consultant contract is awarded. And that's really July at this point. I guess the point being there's still a good amount of time. And as our assistant city manager, Greg Barfield, shared, yes, we'll work with the council, we'll work with the mayor and have a plan in place.
So Scott, my follow-up question is this. The final budget was approved October 20th, correct?
Yes. Approximately,
so
yes.
In that final approval of the budget, the $250,000 was allocated for the truck reroute and it passed. So somewhere, somehow that money got erased, or that budget got erased, that motion got erased, because it was included in the final budget. I have all my notes. I attended the meetings. That was included in the final budget. So again, somebody's not being truthful here, or somebody's holding back something. And it's just really frustrating when all of us have put in our time trying to get this done for West Fresno.
So Kimberly, let me chime in. When that final budget, when you look at the written document and all of the items that were appropriated, this truck rerouting study with the 250,000 from the city was not added. The 5 million to the parks was added, and many other things were added, and the council felt that those were their priorities over the administration and the people's priorities.
So Greg and Scott, I do want to be mindful of the time of this meeting. I think what the committee wants to know now, and I'm speaking for them so they can tell me if it's not it, what are the options now? What can they do now? What should be the process now? And what are the, I mean, I don't know if you can speak to anything that within your process and your transition changes, what are you going to do? And then what should they be doing as we move forward with this item, knowing that this is definitely a priority for the CSC?
So Erica, just one thing. Wait a minute, Greg, I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
Let's stop the politicking here, okay? Let's not say some things like, well, we and the people put this forward and then the council members decided they'd put their wishes forward. I'll be really surprised if I start talking to some of the council members and find out that any of them understood or knew what this program was and who had proposed it. Now, I'm happy to be contradicted there, but I would be very surprised if they thought of this program as somehow coming from the people. So let's back out of that conversation and just say it was a miss, should have been told. That way we could advocate it with the mayor and everybody else for it and maybe got it done. But that rhetoric that I'm hearing about, well, the council members decided this in defense of the mayor and the team here, let's just keep that out of the conversation, okay?
Well, Kevin, let me just be blunt with you.
Still, I took it that way, and I'm sure others did too, because that's the way it came across. Okay,
let me be very blunt with you. Until 8 days ago, I didn't work in the administration. I was a department director, and my budget got cut, even though even though I had monies available to me. So the council, in its wisdom, decided to do this over that, and unfortunately, this project got left out. It was
and that's not completely true.
No,
right?
that's not true.
Because if we go to that email that was referred by Kimberly, and I have a copy that I will make a point to send so everybody in this committee sees it, Council Member Arias was under the impression that those $250,000 were included. So I am requesting that we have a meeting with Council Member Arias, all of us who want to join that meeting, and everybody else, call you and whomever needs to be in that meeting to clear these things out. Because you say, they say, and now we're $250,000 short, and this was a priority. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to take that as an answer.
No problem.
Also, to Erica,
let me just clarify. Let me make a really quick comment. I want to make a note of the things in the chat. So in addition to what Naimeen just said, and I think we're hearing some consensus in the chat around this, that there could be another meeting with our representatives from the CSC that are with the city, Scott and Greg, and then maybe some council members like Councilmember Arias and other CSC members that are interested to talk about this item and to really think about next steps for how it might move forward. I do want to give Greg a chance to respond to some comments that were made, and then I think I still see one hand. Greg Barfield, would you like to make one more comment before we go to Lisa and close this out?
No, I'm perfectly okay with putting together a meeting. Again, I was not in the administration at that time. I did not handle the budget and the budget negotiation, or this particular piece of negotiation. And so I think you hearing it from Miguel and our budget personnel would be appropriate.
Thank you. All right. So that is the next step for this. And I see in the chat some comments related to that relationship and that conversation. Valid points. Lisa, very, very quickly, can you give us a very, very short comment if something that it has been said or hasn't been said already?
Okay, first, I have like 4 different comments, but Greg, I want to
Can you limit them for us, please, Lisa?
Can you quit being condescending to me because I've about had enough? Thank you. Greg, I'm officially requesting a meeting before the AB 617 either committee or the truck route committee subcommittee with the affected city council members to discuss this issue, because we really need just to get to the bottom of this. My first issue is the city is still negligent in upgrading their truck route. That is just obvious here. So just want to put that out there. The second thing is at the budget meeting, I was there at the budget meeting from start to finish of every single one of them. There were the boringest things, but you know, got a lot of things done. And Greg, when they talked about the 250, I asked, is it the city money? They said yes, it was your match, because I also wrote an email asking for at least $250,000 from Miguel Arias for this truck route. At the budget meeting, I even asked very publicly in my public opportunity, does this mean that the $250,000 was funded? They said yes. Now, if there was an issue with $4 million being over budget and they had to put it off to the side, that was the city's opportunity, both the council member and staff, to come forward and say, we have a problem. At that point, they did not. Then, you know, Scott, I've talked to you about transparent and open communication. I am saddened to see that you did not make this part of your report. And this is another issue that we also have across the board in this entire in this entire process that we've been going through, is, you know, to stop these problems of communication is really simple. It's just be honest with us, you know, because every time I talk about the $250,000 in the city, I thought it was there until I asked back in, when was it, Ivanka, November, December, that I asked about the money?
December 15th.
December 15th, when this finally came up, 2 months after the budget was approved. And we shouldn't have had to wait 2 months to find out there was a problem, because what's going to happen is we're going into an RFP process that we need to know how much money we have for sure to fund this project. If the city falls on super hard times where they're looking at having to lay off staff and the money's not there, it will affect this truck reroute study. And we need to be knowledgeable about that. You know, I have also had conversations with Arias's office. I've had conversations with Scott. And the one thing I keep telling everybody, be straight up with us. You know, we're adults. We're, you know, big boys and girls. We can handle the truth. And if there's a problem, we can all work together and solve it. But when you hide the information, the problem just gets worse. That's all I have to say. Thank you, Erica.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. And I do appreciate what I sense from everyone. And I think the city has heard it. I would imagine that they have. And I think we'll reiterate it, is a little frustration, a lot of frustration, and the desire for some action. And I think we've heard from Greg, you know, he's in a new role now. Scott's been along this route for a while with us too. There definitely is some concern around how this happened and some need to make some adjustments. And so we want to move that forward. And that's what we're hearing from a number of committee members. And it looks like the goal would be to have, through the truck rerouting subcommittee or other forum, a way to have some meetings with the key stakeholders at the city and city council to really think about what options exist to move this forward. So we are going to concurrently continue with the RFP development and making sure that is right, but we do need to know how much money is available. And so if I've captured that information and everyone's kind of comments, certainly there's a lot of energy and heated passion around this and interest in this issue. And I think the city is hearing that. The city is hopefully going to share that with their powers that be as well. And obviously the Air District's in a unique position here. And I'll actually have this item closed out by our friends at the Air District. If there's anything that they'd like to say as it relates to this, please do. And then know that we've captured everything in the chat and that we have one last minor quick update on other committee items that I want to do before we have public comment. Air District team, did you like to close out this item with any comments, or would you like to move to the other bulk subcommittee updates?
And I think in the interest of time, we can just say that the other subcommittee updates, we're going to be planning some additional subcommittee meetings, and that a lot of that discussion was put on hold over the holidays with some of the other subcommittees. So it's coming, and look for that in the next week or so.
Thank you. And I don't want to discount anyone's comments, and you know, Lisa and I can banter back and forth, but the truth of this is I hear what all of you are saying, and I think those have all been recorded literally and also in the chat. So if you have additional comments on this item while we move on to the close up and the public comment, drop it into the chat, save it for the record, make sure that your thoughts are reflected there, because again, this is your meeting and this is your priority, and certainly there's some sensitivity around this item, so let's address that, make sure it doesn't get swept under the rug, but that it's definitely captured for that record. Moving forward, apologies for the delay on closing this up, but we are going to wrap up. And again, this process is messy. This stuff is hard, and I appreciate everyone's work on this to make it productive. This meeting has been productive, even though it's been a little bit long. We did take some public comment already, and I want to queue that up if there are any additional ones. But before we do, I want to turn it over to our community co-host, who has been phenomenal, Estella. I want to give you a chance to say a few words before we move on. And again, while she's getting queued up, I do want to always accept volunteers for our new community co-hosts for future meetings. And while we get Estella ready to give her final comments, if you'd like to be a community co-host in the future, whether you speak Spanish or English, we would love to have you on board. Please put your name in the chat or raise your hand.
Muchas gracias a todos por estar aquí. Muchas gracias también por dejarme decir lo que pienso.
Thank you to everyone for being here, and also thank you so much for letting me express myself and let you know what I think.
Thank you so much, Estella. You got a lot of very positive comments, and thank you for your participation. Your feedback's important. Your participation is important, and we really, really appreciate it. Greg Barfield has dropped his contact information his new contact information in the chat, so please do take a look at that in case you want to reach out to him directly. And again, I can't just thank you all enough for your candor, for your respectful dialogue, and for your sharing of this discussion time with residents and with others. That is what this is about. And even in this virtual format, it's not easy, but I value the time and the effort with which you have gone through this process. I'm going to ask Heather at this point if she has any public comments, either via Facebook or otherwise, and if there are any members of the public that would like to speak in general at this time.
Why, thank you. There are no comments.
Happy
Great,
birthday,
thanks, Heather.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Heather. That's a public comment.
We have a
Public
comment.
comment. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, happy birthday.
You know,
And on a high note here.
if we find out about it and your birthday is on a meeting day, we do my speed version of happy birthday. You know how this goes. So 5, 6, 7, 8. Happy birthday to you.
Happy
Birthday
birthday
to you.
Happy
Birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Good job.
That was really
There is no more exciting way to spend your birthday than with all of us. Happy birthday, Heather.
Thank you.
So appreciate you.
I appreciate it too.
All right. We have reached the end of this meeting. It was a great meeting. It was a productive meeting. There's lots more work to be done. And again, you guys, the priority setting that's going to happen in the next couple of weeks is going to set the direction for the rest of the year. And these are important conversations and you're having them, and I think it's working well, but we can always refine, and we look forward to having that discussion soon. So with that, if there are no other parting comments, we will adjourn this meeting at 7:46.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
you, everybody.
All
Good night.
right.
Thanks, everyone.
Birthday,
Thank
Heather.
you, Estella.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye.
Stella.
Thank you. Great job, Estella.
Thank you, Estella. Happy birthday,
Muchas
Heather.
gracias, Estela.
Thank you, Stella. Thank you, everybody. God bless. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year,
Sylvester.
Sylvester.
Buenas noches.
Yay.
Good job, everybody.
I thought this was a party hat. It's a pizza.
It is pizza.
I got really excited. I was
Oh
like, oh,
my
I got a
gosh.
party hat. It's pizza.
Good.
It looks like a
Yeah, it really does.
Good night, Trish.
Heather, you started this. You created a monster with Jessica's. Now she's going to be like
She missed
all about the Zoom piece.
while she was gone. I had to share her with the magic. Oh,
Good night, everyone. Enjoy her birthday.
Yeah. Wait, I'm gonna put flowers on. There.